The twin moons of Nidoria cast long shadows across the crystal plains as Layla Zaranth gazed at her reflection in the luminous lake. At 15 feet tall, her purple skin shimmered under the starlight, a trait unique to the Nixian lineage of her world. As guardian of the Eastern Realm, she commanded respect, even fear, but tonight, as on most nights, she found herself alone. "Guardian Zaranth," came a voice from below. "The council requests your presence at dawn."
Ow.
Leela looked down at the messenger, one of her own kind, but barely reaching her waist. "Tell them I'll be there," she replied, her voice gentle despite its natural resonance. The messenger bowed and retreated, leaving Leela once more with only her thoughts. Among her people, she was an anomaly. The ancient bloodline that flowed through her veins had manifested in exceptional size, strength, and longevity, gifts that had placed her in a position of power, but at the cost of connection. None could meet her gaze without craning their necks. None could embrace her without being engulfed. Even those who revered her kept their distance, as though her very presence might crush them. Leela dipped her hand into the cool water, disrupting her reflection. Tomorrow would bring another day of diplomatic duties, another performance as the implacable guardian. She would stand tall and strong, her emotions carefully contained. She had done for over a century. The diplomatic vessel from Earth arrived with little fanfare the following morning. Relations between Nidoria and the distant blue planet were still in their infancy. Cautious exchanges of knowledge and resources establishing the first bridges between their worlds. Layla observed from a distance as the small delegation disembarked, her duty to ensure their safety as much as to evaluate any potential threat. Among the humans, one figure caught her attention. Unlike his companions who gazed around in wonder and trepidation, this man moved with quiet confidence. His eyes, a warm amber that reminded Leela of Nidorian sunsets, scanned the landscape, not as a tourist but as someone seeking understanding. When those eyes found her, they did not widen in shock or dart away in fear. Instead, they held her gaze steadily, curiously. "Guardian, this is the Earth delegation," announced Counselor Vex, as Leela approached the gathering. "They will be staying for one lunar cycle to establish cultural exchange protocols." Layla inclined her head in formal greeting. "Welcome to Nidoria. I am Leela Zaranth, guardian of the Eastern Realm." The leader of the human group stepped forward, offering practiced greetings, but it was the amber-eyed man who spoke next. "I'm Elian Mercer, cultural liaison and empath," he said, his voice carrying a warmth that Layla found unexpectedly disarming. "Thank you for your welcome, Guardian Zaranth." "Empath?" Layla inquired, unfamiliar with the term. "I sense emotions, energies," Elian explained, his hands making a gentle gesture. "It helps me understand what might be lost in translation between different beings." Something in his explanation stirred an unease in Layla. If he truly possessed such abilities, what might he sense from her? The loneliness she kept buried beneath layers of duty and protocol, the yearning for connection that she had long ago accepted as impossible. "An interesting skill," she replied neutrally, "though I wonder how effective it might be across species." Lien smiled a small, knowing expression. "You'd be surprised by how universal certain feelings are." "Guardian." For the first time in longer than she could remember, Leela felt exposed. As though this small human could see past her carefully constructed walls. She straightened to her full height, reminding herself and everyone present of the vast difference between them. "The council will brief you on protocols," she said, retreating behind formality. "I will oversee your security during your stay." She turned to leave. Elian spoke once more. "Guardian? Sometimes the tallest towers cast the longest shadows, but they also reach closest to the stars." Layla paused, struck by his words and the gentle understanding behind them. Without turning, she continued on her path. But something had shifted within her, a tiny crack in the fortress she had built around her heart, allowing in the first ray of light in decades, 3 days after the Earth delegation's arrival. Layla found herself drawn to the ancient gardens where the visitors had been granted access for study. The humans moved carefully among the bioluminescent flora, their instruments recording data on the symbiotic relationships unique to Nidoria's ecosystem. All except one. Elian Mercer sat cross-legged beneath a towering spiral tree. His eyes closed, palms resting upward on his knees. As Leela approached, the ground trembling slightly with each step, his eyes remained closed, but a smile formed on his lips. "Guardian Zarenth," he said without looking. "Your presence has a distinct resonance." Leela paused, uncertain whether to be impressed or unsettled. "As does yours, apparently. Are you not interested in the botanical studies like your colleagues?" Elian opened his eyes, that amber gaze finding hers with unsettling ease. "I'm studying something even more fascinating, the emotional ecosystem of your world." He gestured to the space beside him. "Would you join me? Though I understand if sitting on the ground isn't comfortable for someone of your stature." The invitation was so casual, so unburdened by the usual caution people showed her, that Leela found herself lowering to the ground before she could overthink the decision. Even seated, she towered over him. "You're not afraid," she observed. "Most beings keep their distance. Should I be afraid?" Ilian asked, genuine curiosity in his voice. "I could crush you accidentally with a careless movement, yet you move with more grace and care than many humans I know." His expression softened. "Besides, fear builds walls. I'm here to build bridges." Something about his words resonated deep within her. "You speak as though you've known isolation yourself." "It's different kind, same pain," Elian acknowledged. "Being an empath means feeling everything sometimes too much. People get uncomfortable when you know what they're feeling before they do." Layla studied him, this strange human who spoke of feelings as tangible things. "And what do you feel from me, Empath Mercer?" "Loneliness," he answered without hesitation. "Pride, duty. And beneath it all, a yearning so vast it's like standing at the edge of an ocean at night." He paused, then added softly, "You don't have to carry it alone." You know, his directness should have angered her, this presumption to know her inner self. Instead, Leela felt the strange sensation of relief to be seen, truly seen, after so long. "I've carried it for a century," she replied. "It's mine to bear. May I show you something?" Elian asked, extending his hand palm up between them. When she hesitated, he added, "It requires touch, but only if you're comfortable." Leela's purple hand dwarfed his as she carefully lowered her palm to hover above his. "What is this?" "On Earth, we have theories about energy transference, the ability to channel emotion and intention through touch." His voice took on a teaching quality. "My people call it different things: Reiki, therapeutic touch, energy healing. I've developed a particular affinity for it." Slowly, Leela lowered her hand until their palms met. Immediately, a warm sensation spread from the point of contact, not just physical warmth but something deeper, like sunlight penetrating cold waters. She gasped softly as emotions she had suppressed for decades rose to the surface, not in the overwhelming flood she had feared, but as gentle waves lapping at the shore. "What are you doing?" she whispered, transfixed by the sensation. "Showing you that your feelings don't have to be a burden," Elian explained, his eyes holding hers. "They can flow, be acknowledged without drowning you." Minutes passed in silence as they maintained this connection. The purple giantess and the human empath, while something ancient and new passed between them. When finally Layla withdrew her hand, she felt lighter somehow, as though a weight she had grown accustomed to had been partially lifted. "I've never experienced anything like it," she admitted. Elian smiled. "It's just the beginning. Our emotions, yours and mine, they're not so different, despite the worlds between us." He stood, seeming suddenly shy. "Would you be willing to meet again?" "There's more I could show you if you're interested." For the first time in recent memory, Layla found herself genuinely smiling. "I would like that, Elian Mercer." As they parted ways, Layla glanced back to see him watching her go, a thoughtful expression on his face. Something had awakened within her a possibility she had long abandoned. For the first time, her enormous stature felt less like a barrier and more like simply another aspect of herself, neither defining nor limiting what connections she might forge. That night, as she stood beneath the twin moons, Layla pressed her palm to her chest, trying to recapture the sensation of Elian's touch, not just the physical contact but the emotional current that had flowed between them. It had been but a glimpse of what might be possible. Yet it had illuminated a path she had never dreamed could exist for someone like her. Weeks passed, and what began as occasional meetings in the gardens evolved into daily encounters. Leela arranged her duties to allow time with Elian, their sessions growing longer as trust deepened between them. Today, they sat beside the crystal falls, where the water cascaded down in sheets of liquid gemstone. Leela had created a makeshift seat from a massive boulder, while Elian perched on an outcropping that brought him closer to her eye level. "Tell me about Earth," Leela prompted, genuinely curious about his world. "Not the diplomatic information in our databases, but what it feels like to you." Yes. Elian's expression brightened. "It's beautifully chaotic, diverse in ways that would astonish you thousands of languages. Cultures that developed in isolation for millennia before connecting. Oceans that stretch farther than the eye can see. Mountains that pierce the clouds." Paused, looking thoughtful. "But it's the connections that make it special. Friendships, communities, built around shared passions." "It sounds overwhelming," Leela admitted. "Here on Nidoria, we value harmony and order. Our connections are ... structured. Is that why you've kept yourself apart? To maintain the structure?" His perception still surprised her even now. "Partly. My size has always made me different, but it's more than physical distance." She gestured to the falls. "Imagine these waters contained in a single glass. They would overflow, destroy everything around them." Elian stood, moving closer, until he stood directly before her. "Your emotions aren't destructive, Layla. They're just waiting for the right channel." He extended both hands. "May I?" This had become their ritual, a sharing of energy that grew more profound with each exchange. Layla lowered her hands, and Elian placed his palms against hers. The now familiar warmth began, but today it felt different, more intense. "I want to try something new," he said softly. "If you'll allow it." Lila nodded, curiosity overcoming caution. Elian closed his eyes in concentration, and suddenly, the energy flowing between them shifted. Instead of merely sensing her emotions, he was sharing his admiration, his fascination, and something deeper, warmer, affection, perhaps more. Leela gasped as the realization hit her. Elian ... "I didn't plan this," he whispered, his amber eyes now open and vulnerable. "But I can't deny what's happened between us." The admission hung in the air between them, dangerous and beautiful. Layla knew she should pull away, remind him of the impossibilities, their different worlds, her responsibilities, the physical reality of their disparate forms. Instead, she found herself leaning closer until her face was level with his. "This isn't wise," she murmured. "Wisdom is overrated," Elian replied with a small smile. "Sometimes the heart knows better." When their lips met, it was with careful restraint from Leela, complete trust from Elian. The energy that had flowed between their hands now surged throughout her body, a sensation so overwhelming that luminescent tears formed in her eyes. For once, her immense size felt not like a barrier, but a gift. She could envelop him completely, protect him from any harm. As they parted, Elian's breathing was uneven, his eyes wide with wonder. "That was impossible," Layla finished, yet she was smiling. "And yet, ... And yet here we are," he completed. "Between two worlds, making our own rules." As the diplomatic reception honored the halfway point of the Earth's delegation's stay, whispers followed Leela and Elian as they moved through the gathering, not quite together but never far apart. The council members exchanged concerned glances, and even Elian's colleagues seemed uncertain about the developing situation. Counselor Vex approached as Leela stood watching Elian converse with a group of Nidorian scholars across the room. Guardian Zaranth, a word. Of course, Counselor. "Interest in the human empath has been noted with some concern," Vex began carefully. "While cultural exchange is our goal, there are appropriate boundaries." Lila turned her full attention to the counselor, her voice low but firm. "My personal connections are not subject to council approval, Vex." "They are when they involve our world's security and diplomatic standing," he countered. "The humans leave in 2 weeks. Whatever attachment you've formed must end then. Surely you see the impossibility of anything more." Before Leela could respond, a commotion erupted across the room. One of the Earth's delegates had collapsed, and medical staff rushed forward. Through the crowd, Layla saw Ilian kneeling beside the fallen human, his hands hovering over them, a concentrated expression on his face. As she moved toward the scene, parting the crowd effortlessly, she heard murmurs of amazement. By the time she reached Ilian, the stricken delegate was sitting up, color returning to their face. "What happened?" she asked. Ilian looked up, a weariness in his eyes she hadn't seen before. "Reaction to something in the food? I was able to help stabilize them." The gathering watched in astonishment as Elion helped his colleague to their feet. What might have been a diplomatic incident had been averted by his unique abilities that were now on full display. Later, as the reception wound down, Leela found Elian alone on a balcony overlooking the crystal plains. "You didn't tell me your empathic abilities extended to healing," she said, joining him. "There's a lot we haven't told each other yet," he replied, his tone suggesting deeper meaning. 2 weeks isn't much time for that. The reminder of his impending departure hung between them, the reality they'd both been avoiding. Leela reached for his hand, her purple fingers carefully entwining with his. "Then we should make the most of it," she whispered, "whatever comes after." Dawn broke with an unusual chill over the eastern realm. Layla stood on the observation platform of the Guardian Tower, watching thin clouds skirt across the horizon, a reflection of her troubled thoughts. 1 week remained of the Earth's delegation's stay. And despite her resolve to focus on the present, the looming separation from Elion weighed heavily upon her. "Guardian Zarinth," a voice interrupted her contemplation. An urgent message from the Council. The messenger handed her a sealed communication device, unusual for routine matters. Activating it, Leela found herself looking at Counselor Vex's stern face. "Guardian, we've received disturbing intelligence. The human called Elian Mercer is not what he appears to be. Our surveillance has detected him accessing restricted archives in the Ancient Knowledge Repository. Further, medical scans from the reception incident show energy patterns inconsistent with the empathic abilities he claims. We have reason to believe he may be extracting sensitive information about Nidorian defense systems." The accusation struck Leela like a physical blow, yet her expression remained impassive. "What evidence supports this?" "Enough to warrant his detention and questioning," Vex replied. "As Guardian, we require your authorization." "I will speak with him first," Layla countered. "If there is deception, I will discover it." Vex's displeasure was evident. "Your judgment may be compromised by personal feelings, Guardian. The Council strongly advises my judgment is sound." Counselor Layla interrupted, her voice lowering to a dangerous register. "I will handle this matter personally. Zarinth, out." The communication ended, but Layla remained motionless, processing the implications. Could she have been so thoroughly deceived? The connection she'd felt with Elian had seemed genuine, transcendent even. Yet doubt now crept in like a shadow. She found Elian in the gardens, seated in meditation beneath what had become their spiral tree. His eyes opened as she approached, his smile fading as he registered her expression. "Something's wrong," he said, rising to his feet. Layla studied him, searching for signs of duplicity. "The Council believes you've accessed restricted archives and may be gathering intelligence on our defensive capabilities. They want you detained." Elion's eyes widened. "That's absurd." You were seen at the repository," Layla stated flatly. "I was there researching Nidorian energy healing techniques with full authorization from your cultural liaison," Leon protested. "Leela, you know me. You felt my true intentions. Is this really a question in your mind?" His response seemed genuine, his hurt palpable. Layla wavered, torn between trust and duty. "Me," she demanded suddenly. "Open yourself completely as I have to you. If there's nothing to hide, prove it." Understanding dawned in Elian's eyes. He extended both hands without hesitation. "Everything I am is open to you, Layla." When their hands met, the connection was immediate and intense. Leela pushed her consciousness into the link, searching for deception, for hidden motives. Instead, she found only transparency as genuine fascination with Nidorian culture. His growing feelings for her, hopes and fears about their future, and something else, a fragmented memory of a conversation overheard. Vex speaking with another counselor about ensuring the Guardian remains isolated and removing the human variable. Leela broke the connection, gasping at the revelation. They're manipulating us both. Ilian steadied himself, drained from the intensity of the exchange. What did you see? Enough to know you're not the one with secrets to hide, she replied grimly. The counselor, at least elements within, appear to have their own agenda regarding my position. Why would they want to keep you isolated? Power, Leela said simply. A guardian who forms deep connections, especially with outsiders, might begin questioning centuries of tradition. I've upheld their systems without challenge because I've never had reason to see beyond them. She looked at him with new clarity. Until now, Ilian took her enormous hand in both of his. What happens next? First, we ensure your safety. If they're willing to fabricate these accusations, they may take more direct action. Leela's expression hardened with resolve. Then we discover exactly what Vex and his allies are hiding. The following day brought a formal summons from the full council. Lila arrived at the Grand Chamber with Elian beside her, a clear statement of her position that caused murmurs among the gathered officials. Guardian Zaranth, the head counselor, began. This meeting was called to address the security concern regarding there is no security concern, Layla interrupted, her voice carrying effortlessly through the chamber. I have personally verified Empath Mercer's intentions and activities. However, there is a matter of grave concern regarding false accusations and potential abuse of council authority. She stepped forward, her massive form casting shadows across the circular table. I have served as guardian for a century, upholding our laws and traditions without question. That ends today. I demand a full investigation into Counselor Vex's actions and communications. Regarding both the Earth delegation and my position as guardian, chaos erupted in the chamber. Vex rose to his feet, his face contorted with anger. This is outrageous. The human has clearly influenced you beyond reason, Guardian. This only confirms our concerns about outside interference. Is it interference you fear, Counselor, or exposure? Leela challenged. Perhaps we should discuss your private net to conversations about keeping the Guardian isolated and your plans to manipulate reports regarding Empath Mercer. The head counselor raised a hand for silence. These are serious allegations from both parties. Given the circumstances, I propose a formal truth session before the full council. Truth sessions were ancient Nidorian rituals, rarely invoked but binding on all participants. Through a combination of technology and traditional practices, they made deception impossible. Layla nodded her agreement immediately. Vex hesitated before reluctantly consenting, as preparations began for the session scheduled for the following day. Layla and Eliane retreated to her private quarters in the Guardian Tower sanctuary few had ever entered. They'll try something before tomorrow, Eliane warned as night fell. Vex won't risk exposure. As if summoned by his words, the tower's security system chimed with an alert. Unauthorized energy signatures detected in Sector 3, the automated voice announced. Lila accessed the security feed to see armed figures moving through the lower levels. It seems subtlety has been abandoned, she said grimly. Reaching for her ceremonial staffa weapon she had rarely needed to use in earnest, Eliane placed a hand on her arm. There's another way. His expression was both determined and vulnerable. The energy techniques we've shared, they can be amplified, projected. Together, we might be able to neutralize them without violence. How? Layla asked, intrigued despite the urgency. Trust me, Alien said, positioning himself in the center of the room. Stand behind me. Place your hands on my shoulders, and focus your energy through meal-like arc connections, but directed outward. As the intruder's footsteps echoed up the spiral staircase, Layla took her position, her massive purple hands gentle on Alien's shoulders. The moment they connected, she felt the familiar warmth intensify, becoming something new and powerful. Focus on harmony, balance, Elian instructed, his voice steady as he raised his hands. Not domination, but restoration. When the doors burst open and Vex's security forces rushed in, weapons raised, Elian released a wave of energy, that rippled visibly through the air. The intruders froze mid-step, their expressions shifting from aggression to confusion, then to calm. One by one, they lowered their weapons. "What have you done to them?" Leela whispered in amazement. "Temporarily disrupted their emotional centers specifically. Aggression and fear," Elian explained, his voice strained with effort. "They can still think, but the emotional drivers behind their actions have been ... rebalanced." Vex pushed through his disoriented forces, his face livid. "What is this treachery? Arrest them both." But his men remained unmoving, seemingly incapable of following his orders. Vex turned to Lila, hatred evident in his eyes. "You would choose this alien over your own people? Over centuries of tradition?" "I choose truth over deception," Counselor Lela replied calmly. "And I am not choosing between worlds. I'm building a bridge between them." She stepped forward, towering over him. "You will face the truth session tomorrow. The council will learn how you've manipulated my isolation for your political advantage."